2, 3. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. We're still trying to hit orbit. I'm just having an asinine amount of time with that. I'm gonna try something. Actually, gonna take off that engine, and we're gonna try and make this entire thing a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit more agile, lethal. See, damn it. That's just me being dumb. Not putting on 3 of these brackets. Or decouplers, if you will. So, whoa, let's lower those a little bit. Alright, now I'm just having placement issues. So, with it being a little bit smaller, we may have a better chance of it, not wibble-wobbling so much in flight. Later on we can get struts, because ideally I would like to strut this a little bit, because it's going to wiggle. But I'm pretty sure Delta V is on par. I mean, I guess I don't need a manned. I guess I could do stay put. Yeah, why am I still sending Kerbals into space when I don't need to? Nope. So I can just do this. This is me suddenly realizing something that I can do. What if I were to attach, well, actually, a little bit behind the scenes here on what I normally wrestle with. So we have that. I'm gonna need batteries. Also gonna want to heat shield it. Can I just like put a heat shield on top? I'm kind of hoping that that doesn't just bake. I don't have fairings or anything. Well, we'll see. We'll see how sensitive this really is. Let me give it a hat. Alright, back to the matter at hand. So this is just going to be a test to see if we can even do this. I don't even know if it's plausible, let alone recommended. Trying to do this quick for y'all. It's because I know you don't want to sit here and watch me build a rocket. Building rockets is lame. You want to see me jump in space and do cool space things. Okay, so now another thing we're going to need is we're going to need batteries, because this guy is actually going to be using an amount of batteries. Actually, you know what? I may not be able to do this purely on a parts standpoint. Oh, wait, what? Whose bright idea was it to add 2 of those? We can test it and see if the single battery, because I think that's all I can take. The single battery will do it. Actually, you know what? We can actually strip that off. Put this here, make it look super dangerous. And just slap on, like, 2 batteries. Just to see, just for, that's 3. I keep touching the rocket, I think. Like the boosters, so it's multiplying it. And we're gonna see how this goes with a hat. Let's just try. This is gonna be an unmanned mission. If it explodes, it won't be as bad. Oh, I probably need an antenna. We'll find out. Whoa, hey Kerbal. That was a weird start. So already the squatter rocket is a little bit more stable. It's kind of wanting to actually listen a little bit better, being more squat like this. Let's see if we can do this. I'm really scared that I'm just gonna burn up the drone on front. We were able to get an early gravity turn though, so that's nice. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why? Why? That doesn't even... Nobody knows. Reverting flight. We're gonna try that launch one more time. I don't really mean to waste your time. It's just weird that it decided to fucking lay over like that. Right around like 350, I'm gonna try a gentle layover. Just because the whole point of the gravity turn is you are actually using the planet. Because when you're in space, you're not actually, like, staying up there because you're weightless when you're in orbit. When you're in orbit, you're actually falling towards the planet. You're just falling, you're traveling laterally fast enough that you're not actually falling down in altitude. So you kind of want to use the planet to your advantage. Whoa, it just gets squirrely, and I don't know why. I still have full control. It's not like I lost control. Huh. That's weird. Well, let's actually go back and try this with a Kerbal on top. Put a bow on it and whatnot. Let's even forego the what's that on top? Nothing. Okay. So what we're gonna actually do is we're going to forego our normal because what I've been trying to do is get goo up there as well. But if we're just trying to get up there at this point. I mean, I know I'm taking the Science Junior still, but that's more of a because I don't want to make the trip a total waste. When I finally manage to get up there, even though at this rate it appears to not be happening anytime soon. Launching. Now that we've launched, we're going to get up to halfway decent altitude and then layer over, fighting this natural rotation she has. I'm wondering if I was just leaned over too far too early and without having a large enough face, aerodynamic forces just like fucked my gravity turn. So we'll be more gentle this time. We won't necessarily drop it to that sweet 45-degree angle right off the bat. Let's see. Well, she wants to go in the direction of orbit already. Just kind of creep it down a little bit. We actually have a really good surface speed. So I'm going to try and creep her down a little bit. So once we break orbit, we're going to be hauling ass. Okay. We broke an orbit. We have a nice apoapsis. We're going to crank the speed. Let's try and get that girl high enough. So that's about as good as we're going to get. It's a little bit easier, so let's actually see if we can smudge it a little bit. That's actually costing us more delta V. Yeah, that's probably the best we're gonna get. We have a lot more fuel this time. So this should actually be a really easy, this should be a really easy orbit to get. Actually, we probably have about the same amount of fuel. I forgot that this is all one continuous thing right now. Still going for a full minute burn, which seems like an obnoxiously high amount. We're going to start our burn 10 minutes out like normal, or 10 seconds out, I should say. Now I'm sitting here concentrating. I'm super leaned forward and my voice sounds weird. So I am leaned close to my screen, trying to make sure I'm keeping the nav ball squared away. I just direly want this orb to happen. You do not know how many times I've tried this launch today. So it looks good. So the rough thing is we're going to still have to burn a little bit, and I don't think we're actually going to have enough. Again. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a little bit of, see, we're actually dropping. Actually, we're not dropping. What I'm going to try and do is get over to our apoapsis. We may not be able to. Actually, I think we'll be able to get one orbit off of this. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to raise that periapsis enough to get it over. Oh, hello. Well, if I burn the same way I burned last time, it would send me into fucking space. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to try and burn at this apoapsis just enough. Not that much. Because the less that we raise it, the easier it'll be for us to deorbit. So we just want to break that 70k magic number. So we got a nice time warp going. So we actually made it. So we're doing kind of a sloppy orbit. Not really sloppy. We're just actually I just realized what I've been doing wrong this whole time, and I'm ashamed of myself. Because as soon as I can get that, if I can get the apoapsis, the shift, I don't need to be burning at the periapsis, because it takes way more delta V to change your orbit at your periapsis than it does your apoapsis. Little bit of a hint there, so you don't do what I did. Because what I can probably get away with doing is, whoa, not burning in time, because speed. But if you notice, it's shaking right now because of, the little bit of crap I've done. So see, what that just did is, since I'm way out here at the apoapsis, I just needed to barely tap my throttle to actually raise this to where it needed to be. So now, after many, many hours of attempts, I have an orbit. Now this is an amazing time for Kerbals. If you've noticed, we got the world's first milestone of we are entered orbit. We got a hunk of money, got some science, and some reputation. And then we got a hunk of money for doing the mission, and some more science, and a good amount of rep. So the nice thing about this is, if I had upgraded my astronaut or Kerbal center, I could actually have our bro here go on an EVA. But right now, since training's like, it's kind of mirroring the actual space agency, where the first couple of times we were in space, nobody did a spacewalk. Nobody went to the moon the first couple of times we were in space. It was like, hey, look, we got to space. This is awesome. So now our big test here first is me kind of doing a vain little twist here so we can see our ship pretty against the sun and everything. So we need to conduct what little science we can. So we're going to get a crew report from orbit. Must have done a crew report earlier. But science bay from orbit. 5 science. I think I've been here before. So not the greatest amount of everything, but what we can do is, I believe, and we're actually going to dick around with nodes here. Like if I want to drop out of orbit, burning this way, which will take, like that'd be an intense drop out of orbit. But like just getting, I could just get to where we're in a degrading orbit without much effort from this side. Now, just for experimentation's sake, if we were at the periapsis and we tried to do the same thing, it would take a lot more. Partially because it's so far out, but if you notice, at about this much effort, we dropped 90 kilometers, or sorry, 90,000 kilometers on the periapsis side. So a lot of your altitude changes you're going to want to do at your apoapsis, barring certain situations, because let's just show that again. So each of these directions is the direction you're going to burn. So burning antigrade, I believe is what the terminology is, burning against your momentum, so slowing yourself down. It will take us, actually wait, that's 40 for 30. Oh, this goes for 30. Oop, wrong direction. Actually, just this, I could be wrong, and I just want to see if I'm wrong or not. That's about what we would have burned. Well, it looks like dropping your orbit's elevation either way is about the same. But since we do not have a circular orbit, we are actually going to do this at the apoapsis, which is the highest point in our orbit, and we are going to burn retrograde, just to drop us enough. Well, to be fair, I could kind of burn it all retrograde. So what we're going to do is we're going to let us whip around this planet. So he's actually going to spend some time up in space. Now see, you can actually time warp a lot quicker, which is nice when you're going in between celestial bodies. Because keep in mind, I'll actually stop time for this. But you have Kerbal here, Kerbin. Then you have the moon. Then you have Minmus, right? Oh, that's not Minmus. Minmus is somewhere. Where are you, Minmus? You're right here. So, the amount of effort it just took me to get in orbit, then we still have to get here, and then here. Then when stuff starts to get really complicated, and is when I'm probably going to be not necessarily using guides, but I'm going to do a lot of research before I post videos about it, is actually doing interplanetary stuff. Like going to Eve, going to Moho, going to Duna, you know, going to Dres. Now keep in mind, all of these, you actually have launch windows. So basically, when I would be able to launch from Kerbin and be put in the right position for, like, if I wanted to transfer from here and then use the moon. So I remember right, you wanna launch for the moon somewhere around 45 degrees from your launch. So if I were to burn right here, I would want the moon to be over here. Sorry, right there, over in this vicinity. Because then when you burn, it'll take less delta V for you to reach here than try to maneuver in the middle of your whatever your approach is. If you try and maneuver in the middle of the approach, you will burn a lot of delta V trying to fix your mistake. Whereas if you can just line it up perfectly, you can launch out this way, and if the moon catches you in its gravity, you're set. You just need to slow down so you don't whiz past the moon. What I've seen some people do is actually set up multiple slingshots, which is going out, meeting the moon, accelerating through the moon's gravity to get the curve, so like hit min miss, or in the larger scheme of things, like depending on where the positions of the planets, you can boost out past here and use the gravity to curve you in to Moho, instead of like trying to do a straight launch to Moho, which will take way more fuel. Now later on, it's possible to just get an obnoxious amount of parts so you could just brute force anywhere you need to go. Also, yes, I do realize I just wasted a lot of your time explaining that for no apparent reason. So we're going to actually get to our apoapsis here, and now that, well, once we get about 30 seconds out, minute out, I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to turn over here, and we're actually going to burn, because we should have more than enough fuel to actually do this burn. So the scary thing is can we get Bill back? So we can actually, since it's such a tiny burn, we can actually wait for a bit. And when it's about 5 seconds out, we'll start throttling up. Just try and bleed off some of this orbital speed. So now the nice thing here is since we're just honestly trying to slow down, it's not huge science involved. I mean, like, it's not as, I should explain that further. Since we are literally just dropping our elevation and we have a little bit of delta V to spare, we do not need to be as accurate as we did on the approach into orbit. Because as you saw with a couple of the attempts, it's really easy to burn a little bit too much fuel, and all of a sudden you don't have enough fuel to either recover your ship or to even just make an orbit. So what we actually did here is we put ourselves into a degrading orbit, which means when we actually whip around over here, actually let's make this a little bit easier by removing this this node. So right now our orbit's at 30,000 feet, but as we know, 30,000 feet is still within the atmosphere. So what we're actually going to do is when we're coming in here, we're going to start scraping the atmosphere. And it's going to drop our periapsis down to rock bottom, which is why it actually stopped our time warp. Because we are actually, as you can see, we're slowly dropping that periapsis because we're getting into the gravity of, well, we've been in the gravity of the planet. But our orbital speed is no longer enough to actually keep us in orbit. So as this drops, and it's starting to drop like a stone now, it's actually going to go towards the planet. You can see that like our orbit is changing as we're watching it. This is slowly dropping. Now nothing's affecting, well, the apoapsis is pulling in too, but since this is so well within the atmosphere, we're not even going to complete this orbit. We are actually going to start dragging, and you're going to start seeing the flames and everything kick up here in a second because I'm going to kick on the speed. But we're doing this on the dark side, which is kind of rough. I have a light on behind me, so it makes, oh, holy crap. So you can see we're actually starting to get a little bit of heat going on here. So what we want to do is try and rotate away. We're trying to put our ass in the direction we're falling. And we're gonna burn off the rest of our fuel here. Just for safety purposes. And we're gonna lead with our ass. until such a situation where our ass starts to catch too much heat. This is going to be a very not pretty approach, because as you can see, we're coming in at a shallow angle, so we're actually going to be getting a lot more friction from the atmosphere because we're cutting through so much more of the atmosphere with our ship than when we left. Because if you were paying attention to when we left, we would have already actually been out of the atmosphere. We're actually starting to get a little. We're trying to fight turbulence right now, and it's actually going to force our ship to flip. And we are actually going to get rid of that and try and get our ass pointed in the right direction, because we do have that heat shield, which will protect our squishier, or I should say more fragile components. Now, I'm actually glad I figured out how to use these heat shields, because earlier in my first attempt at making this series, I was, believe it or not, I was doing far worse than I am right now. So one of the nice things about us taking this super shallow approach is we're going to bleed off a lot of speed as we're coming in. Because if we were dropping straight down, we wouldn't be able to air brake as hard as we are. For those of you that are at home that don't know, air braking is literally using the air to brake. It's crazy science, right? So we're getting close to the surface. I'm watching our speed, hoping we drop down. We actually need to drop down to 250 meters a second before we can actually deploy our parachutes. We should be able to make it easily. That was a really fucking long entry. Entries are not supposed to go that long. Because the longer it takes you to actually enter the more heat, as you were seeing, you could actually start to see those little damage bars show up on my craft. Okay, so we're getting close to actually being able to deploy. We're also getting really close to the ground. But we're going slow enough that we're going to be well within the ability to actually deploy our parachutes. And bring Bill home safe. Bill, the engineer, who didn't really sign up for this kind of work. We can actually find out that we have landed almost... What the fuck? So, if I remember correctly, if I know my Kerbal geography, this is where we launched from? I could be wrong. Where we launched from could be on the dark side. We'll find out. But we're coming down. We're also in the desert, which is kind of nice. Someplace we haven't been before. And we'll actually, we'll speed this descent up. Just because, like, once all these deploy, because I'm so worried about these components getting messed up, we're actually dropping kind of like a leaf. I'm not gonna lie. So at normal speed, well, I'll give you a taste of it. Normal speed, it would take us ages to actually go down. So ×4 is nice. So all in all, after a couple of botched attempts on this video, and you know the video I was recording before this, which I decided not to show you guys because it was nothing but botched attempts for about half an hour, we were able to complete a orbit. What the fuck? Hey, radial parachute and flight above Kerman. Sweet. We were able to complete the orbit. We were able to get a little bit of science done, complete some contracts, money, reputation, science. So we may be able to get some new toys to play with. Oh god. Physics gets a little bit weird when you're dropping at speed. But we landed here safe. Bill's gonna get out, flop on the ground. Those Kerbals are cute. This is Bill. Bill's just hanging out. Let's get an EVA report from Bill. We got 2 science. Was a spacesuit entirely necessary to get here? Yes, it was, Bill. But until next time, if you guys actually enjoyed this video and watching me fail and finally overcome all adversity, hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. I post a fuck ton of videos every day. Most tend to be a little bit better than this. And fucking Bill's adorable. I love the Kerbals. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you cats later. Bye, Bill.